Stormbird tells the story of the War of the Roses. By the early 1400s in England, the Lancaster dynasty had come into power. Henry V, the son of Henry IV, has given himself the mission to conquer much of France. Throughout the 1410s, he greatly succeeds in doing so by conquering most of northern and eastern France. Unfortunately, Henry V dies quite young, and his son Henry VI is too young to become king. So that means that his regent becomes the Duke of York. It is only a matter of time before Henry VI does become king. This means that the Duke of York is sent to France to lead the armies there and is no longer needed as a regent. However, Henry VI now relies on William Suffolk and Derry Brewer to be his main advisors. William Suffolk has become the ambassador to France, and Derry Brewer was a one-time ringleader and now the spy master to Henry VI. Now you may be having trouble finding Derry Brewer in the history books. This is because he's not actually a real man, but in the book Stormbird, he was an archer in the army of Henry V. He then comes back home to London and does some, well, not so legitimate things. But along the way, he has become a strong enemy of the Duke of York. This is because Derry Brewer now has the Duke of York's old job, serving as the main eyes and ears to the king. In many ways, Henry VI is still a child. He's often too trusting and spends much of his time at prayer, making him a decent guy, not a great king. So, Derry and the Duke of York think that either of them could pretty easily rule the kingdom if they had the trust of the king. But it is Derry who has won the trust of Henry. Henry then tells Derry to go and draw a truce with France, as France has recently started winning the war. Now, to do this, Derry gives up much of the provinces in France, but peace is won, and Henry also gets a wife. As part of the peace treaty, Henry gets married to Margaret, the daughter of a duke in France. Now, Margaret is very strong-willed and also pretty intelligent. She's able to recognize immediately that Derry Brewer and William Suffolk are actually the ones running the kingdom. She's also able to recognize that they aren't entirely bad guys. William Suffolk has been spending a lot of time with the king, which has earned him the titles of the Duke of Suffolk and Admiral of the High Seas. Because of his newfound titles, he's sent to Calais, one of the English fortresses in northern France. He is sent to Calais to relieve the Duke of York of military command of the English forces in northern France. William Suffolk doesn't expect the Duke of York to be too thrilled about this, but the opposite is true. Because the Duke of York's provinces were given up during the peace treaty, many English settlers there have been displaced. In the southern English province of Kent, and in Maine and Anjou, the French province has given up, many rebellions strike up. In Maine and Anjou, Thomas Woodchurch, not necessarily a real person, leads these rebellions. Within a few months, the French are able to reclaim Maine and Anjou from the rebels. However, both sides take pretty heavy casualties. Likewise, in Kent, the English army eventually does put down the rebels, but not without greatly angering the peasants there, and also suffering pretty heavily on the English army. Now, Richard decides it's time to return home.